Hey everybody, Wookie here. In this video, we're going to take a look at the dev letter for the console specifically, what they've outlined in the letter, and the key features of it, of what they're going to try and improve further in this 2020 year. So first off, they just, do a quick overview. It's been just over 2 years since Pubg launched on consoles with the Xbox game preview. Since they've launched 1.0 on Xbox and PS4, they've introduced cross-platform play last October, and with update 6.2 in February, they added cross-party play, which again has just increased the amount of players in the community, which is just only a good thing. And then also those friends that have been across platforms previously can now play together in Pubg, which is great. So they just outlined some of the challenges that they faced on Pubg console for 2020. So improve quality control to provide stable performance continuously. Reduce the content gap between PC and console further. Console specific balance adjustments to better suit console environment. Strengthen anti-cheat detection and DDoS defense, and provide better and new ways to communicate with the players. So just have a look at these. So improve quality control for stable performance. This is a must. I think a lot of people, especially in the last probably 6 months, have been getting pretty cheesed off with every time there's a new update, there's some new issue that just annoys people, and it's just really annoying in general. So I mean, if they're going to, kind of commit to releasing updates that aren't going to introduce new issues, that's only a good thing. Reduce the content gap between PC and console even further. So at the minute, when something comes out on PC, console will get it within a 2-week period. So if they're going to reduce that, it's going to say they reduce it down to a 7-day period. That'd be even better. And then eventually, I suppose, it'll all just release on the same day. Maybe fair in the future. But if they're getting it down to a week, that's really good. As long as, like we say, it doesn't introduce any new issues. Console-specific balance adjustments. So I think the first time they've really looked at this is because of the response from the M249 leaving the crate. On PC, I don't believe it's too bad, but certainly over on the console side, it's like a glass cannon for me. It's like sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's terrible. But it definitely needs a bit of work. Strengthen anti-cheat detection and DDoS defense. So for me personally, I'd never really experienced cheaters in Pubg within the first year of it being out that I'd noticed, glaringly. But certainly in the last 6 months, a lot more players have been complaining about cheating. I've seen a lot of suspect things myself. So certainly reducing this down and to improve the overall experience for everybody is just a good thing. And better way to communicate with players is just, more people know what's going on. They're probably going to do that through the in-game article thing that people can then click on, which would be good. So in the first thing, performance. So the problems that they had in 2019 were rendering and low FPS. So back in the day when you used to land, the builders wouldn't even spawn in. Obviously, we don't have that anymore. Well, I don't on the Xbox X console anyway. I'm not sure about the lower consoles, but even some of my friends, they have played on the Xbox S console and they don't have that anymore. So, improvements I've made. FPS, my FPS only ever tends to drop if you land in a heavily populated area. And even then, it's only for a few seconds where it kind of catches itself up. It's worth noting that in the settings, if you're on an Xbox X console, you can choose between frame rate priority and resolution priority. And I fully recommend just doing frame rate priority because you'll just get a much better frame rate overall. Don't know if everybody knows that. And then again, they've made big improvements in that, which they do. Now, something that they've got as of update 7.1 is hitching has returned quite a bit. And they said the two main things causing this is loading certain skins and achievements. Now, I've not really experienced any of this, to be honest. However, some of my friends who are playing, even on Xbox X consoles, have experienced it. Now, I can only assume it's with this first one, because it's got to the point where we don't really get achievements anymore because, we've been playing the game that long. So, I mean, it's something that you're going to have to work on. Now, it is also worth noting I do play off an SSD as well. So that's possibly what's helping with the loading. But I know a lot of people, even on X consoles who don't, are still having this hitching. So if they've managed to track down on that, and improve that, that's going to be a good thing. It only tends to happen to them in the first like seconds of the game when they hit the ground, and then it's gone. But again, if there was an enemy player there, that can ruin the experience. Now, basically what they're saying was the issue for this is that as more and more updates have come out, the game's got larger and larger, so then the memory pool is less, and then that's what's causing these issues. So basically, what they're trying to do is streamline it with optimizations so that it reduces that and it only loads things exactly when it needs to, kind of thing. Which obviously take time and experimentation, but at least it's something they're focused on and determined to do. The next thing that they've done is they're saying they're going to tune the dynamic resolution mode to try and get better resolution as well as frame rate. A lot of people have asked for 60 frames per second. I would love 60 frames per second. It would be awesome. And it does say they're actively looking to implement this. They have got challenges that they need to overcome before they do it. And that's something that's going to, be worked on in due course. And when they've got information to share about that, they will. But again, it's positive. It's something that they're actually looking to do. So it might not be in the next month or so, but in 6 months' time to a year's time, possibly we'll be seeing this on the console. Then the next major tab is the PC console content gap. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the gap at the minute is 2 weeks. But there are still some features that console's missing out on. Now, the biggest one that it goes into in this section is custom matches. So the custom match settings on console are fairly basic. You can basically start a match and put a password on it and choose the match, and that's about it. Whereas on PC, you can choose the amount of weapons that are spawning, are there any exclusions to that, etc. What vehicles are spawning, how many of them. So it's just a lot more comprehensive. Now, they're looking at adding this as well as a full observer mode into the console. However, especially with the observer mode and flying across the map, rendering stuff in, they're looking at optimization again. But they're going to be trying to get that this year fully implemented on the console, which is good. And then finally, the Pubg labs. So on PC, they have like way more labs updates than we do on the console version. So they got to test out the Blue Hole mode. They've had the ranked playlist test twice now. And we didn't. All we've had is the skill-based rating. We had the glide. In fact, we didn't even have the glider. We had the glider when it went on the test servers. So we've had the skill-based rating. And I think that's about it, actually. Whereas on the PC, they're always testing things. So they want the full Pubg labs implemented into console this year, which is going to be good because we'll also be able to test the new features out early time, which is good for us players. Console-specific balancing is the next tab. So they're constantly hearing feedback about vehicle and weapon balancing issues, and these issues oftentimes being specific to consoles. Now, the reason people might ask why they're specific to consoles is because of the way that you control your character. So on a PC, a gun with a certain recoil might feel fine because you just pull the mouse down and that's relatively easy. Whereas on a console with the sticks and just the way you have to do things differently, that recoil might be way too much and therefore it needs balancing differently. So I think the M249 is a clear example of this, whereas on PC it's not too bad, whereas on console it's just all over the place. So I think they're going to be changing stuff like that. As for weapons, some people think weapons are particularly more overpowered than others, but as for now, there is a single universal multiplier applied to the recoil of all our weapons, and basically the recoil on console is set to half what it is on PC. In order to be able to balance weapons individually, we need to be able to split the data on our weapons between console and PC. However, to make our own guns act and feel as realistic as possible, there is a lot of code that is tied to all weapon data, meaning the splitting weapon data must be done very carefully. So basically, they want to be able to tune the weapons individually, not just use this universal multiplier, but they're being careful about it because they don't want to change things and then, all the weapons are broken, there's no recoil on anything, and it just destroys the game. And again, it mentions about the M249 at the bottom there, which we've been through. The next section is anti-cheat and DDoS defense. So a month ago or so, they released Pubg, kind of like this kind of thing, and it was telling us about the DDoS offense and how that's partly what's been affecting the packet loss issues that pretty much everybody's been experiencing. And the reason it was doing that is because they were moving servers around, they were testing new server defense techniques, which was causing a little bit of packet loss to try and see if it would reduce these issues. And the reason they didn't communicate it out is because they didn't want the people who were doing this stuff to then change what they were doing, which is fair enough, I suppose, in a way. Then the other thing is anti-cheats. Now, one of the biggest things, and especially like I see on the Facebook groups all the time, radar hacks, and then they just go into this and explain they have got like an automated system that checks what players are doing, and within a certain time frame, if they do things that are unexpected from a controller, then they investigate it. Now, the biggest problem that I assume they're having with this is just the amount of time that they have to evaluate this. So again, it is still important that people send in, footage, send in cheat reports, because when people do that, then I'm assuming they'll check those first because they're a higher priority. But again, they're working on the automated system as well, and they're hoping by Q2 of 2020 they'll be able to implement a solution there. And that's basically what that goes into. And then in communication, again, they're just trying to be more open. And I mean, letters like this, if we had one of these letters, not on a weekly basis, but maybe on a monthly basis, to let us know about the lowdown and the progress that's been made. Not even necessarily about new updates coming to the game, about more issues to do with this. I think that would put a lot of people's mind at ease. So hopefully we'll get that soon. So hopefully you found some information in here that you didn't know or hadn't seen before. If you did, consider liking and subscribing to see more. Wookie out.